Merle Haggard has recorded more than 40 #1 country hits, like Movin' On in 1975. His career has spanned 6 decades, and while most people have retired by the age of 76, Merle is still rolling along. Us men become addicted to the grind. Tonight, the Smoky Mountains Center for the Performing Arts in Franklin, North Carolina will be sold out. In just a couple of hours, 1,500 fans will jam this place, paying up to $50 a head to see an icon for, who knows, maybe the last time.
You've described yourself several times as, and I quote now, a walking miracle. What do you mean by that?
You know, I'm from a poor family, and when you lose half of the house, my father died when I was 9, so my mother was left with the entire operation, which wasn't much, but I don't know how it could be any further down than I was. I mean, we didn't have no sidewalks, we didn't have no clock tower.
Well, the profile is there. Home was a boxcar that was made into home. Lost your father at age 9. Between age 9 and 20 or 21, you were in and out of well over a dozen institutions of one kind or another.
That'd be very conservative.
Haggard began running away when he was 10 years old, stowing away on a freight train to Fresno. His life increasingly became a cycle of juvenile delinquency. Here, 16-year-old Merle gets a visit from his family while staying at a detention center right outside of Los Angeles. But these stints were quickly followed by an escape. Fleeing custody became his specialty. He ran away at least 17 times. It was only after he landed in San Quentin and its 70-foot walls that Haggard stopped running. He was 19 years old by then, and it was his first time in the big house. But because of his escape record, the prison classified him as one of the most dangerous convicts.
With my reputation of escape, they wouldn't let me out of the cell after 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Because you'd escaped so many times previously.
Yeah. So for the first 18 months, maybe a little more, I wasn't able to participate in any of the functions that were available, such as music. But with the help of the people that were playing on what they called the Warden's Show, they were able to get my classification changed after about 18 months or so there, and I was able to play the Warden's Show. And it's quite a deal. You get I think we got 2 packs of Camels and a steak dinner, and they didn't have no steak dinners in San Quentin except that one.
I want to take you back. You get out of San Quentin, and you started playing professionally. Is that when you started writing music, or had you been writing music before then?
You know, I started writing music, or trying to write music, when I was 7 or 8 years old. And it shows up in my report cards. Won't pay attention, staring out the window. Has great potential. He could be a great student, but he won't pay attention. Well, I was scribbling then. I was trying to write.
Well, what happened? Because at some point you went into first truancy and then into crime, and ever-increasing kinds of crime. Let's try to help somebody who's watching and listening, who's struggling with being a parent or worried about their grandchildren. How did that happen? Why did that happen?
You know, if you go really down into the depths of things, it was about truancy. The education that I needed, I knew was not in that classroom. So I was staring out the window.
All right, so you become a truant. Among things, you hop boxcars and skip around, but that's truancy. How did it wind up leading to crime?
Well, when you go to jail for truancy, they don't separate you from the hardened criminals. And so there was some old boys in there that had some what sounded like successful possibilities in the area of crime, you know.
kind of a crime school?
You bet. I started to idolize people that Bonnie and Clyde and John Dillinger. The possibility of having a career in music was way out of reason. I didn't think that was possible, so I took to studying the bad way. When I went to San Quentin, maybe for 18 months or so, I might have just really had a lot of fun there. I was playing music, and I had a job in the laundry, and the guy that was running the laundry didn't know whether we were there or not. We'd slip out onto the football field and play guitars. And I had quite a business going. I was selling beer and cigarettes, and had a loan company. And
Inside prison?
yeah. So I went to the parole board. Suddenly reality was slapped at my face. One of the guys in there said, leaned across the table and said, "Looks like you're having a real good time here." And I hadn't really thought about it that way, And he said, "Talk to you later."
That you were in the audience as a prisoner in San Quentin when Johnny Cash came through and played.
Oh, that was true. He didn't meet me, and I didn't meet him then. The day he was there was New Year's Day, 1958. He'd been over in San Francisco having a party the night before, and he'd sung or talked his voice completely off. I just barely talk. Well, I thought, this guy's in trouble. There's 5,000 men here. And he can't talk, he can't sing. I was engrossed with wondering how he was going to pull this off. Well, first of all, country music was not like it is now. Country music was down your nose at that time compared to what it is now. And so the visit of Johnny Cash was not all that cool in the joint. Before he started his show, he asked for a glass of water, pointed one of the guards, and this guard was standing in the daylight of the doorway chewing gum. And Cash had when he asked for the water, of course he had the audience, everybody were looking at him, and he mocked that guard. Well, he won the whole audience.
Yeah, because the audience wouldn't dare to mock a guard.
No. When Cash left, there was guys all over that yard with guitars.
You were one of them?
Well, I was the teacher. I mean, they all knew that I played, and they must have been 20 guitar player. A kid had come up to me and said, "Can you show me how you did that intro on Folsom Prison Blues?" All of a sudden, we were more popular. We had more clout because we understood what that guy did.
Today, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, could Johnny Cash still make it?
Oh, yeah, if he wanted to. As I think about him, as I learned about him, as I grew to be friends with him, I was pleasantly informed that he was very, very intelligent. He was not your average knife in the drawer. A lot of that stuff, it sounded like it might have just been something they stumbled onto. They figured it out. They knew what they were doing.
Pretty much as you know what you're doing.
Well, true, yeah.
By the way, you're on Facebook, Twitter, you do all that, do you?
Yeah. My son does it all for me. I don't know anything about it.
Well, what do you think about that? Has it changed the music business as a business?
Oh, sure. There's few people in the world that it's done as much for as it has me. I've already went to iTunes and cut a deal with them. They're going to pay me a lot more money than they pay Joe Blow to sell my records through them. I don't need a record company anymore for obvious reasons. I mean, it's because of the new electronic availability. I mean, there's no necessity for a record company. It's outdated.
For any artist, it's very difficult to describe your art. But how would you describe your music?
Well, it's homegrown. It's truly from Bakersfield, California. It has its origination in the oil fields and the cotton fields of Southern California at a time when that part of the country was made up mostly of Texans and Okies and Harkeys people from back east trying to find something.
Fleeing the Depression in some cases.
Yeah.
Desperate for work, they came by the truckloads to California from the 1930s to the 1950s. They weren't always welcomed by the locals, and many were forced to settle in migrant camps outside of towns like Bakersfield. The conditions were far from ideal, but they brought their music, which for many was their only escape. The Haggards also moved west, and although they didn't live in the camps, Merle's father renovated a boxcar that became part of their home. Merle grew up in Bakersfield and returned here after his time in San Quentin.
I'll follow up on something you said. You said that your advice to Bob Dylan, when he asked, when you told him to get out from behind the piano and get up and sing the songs that people wanted to hear. Now, in your own case, people want to hear you sing certain songs. They want to hear you sing Okie from Muskogee. Just to take one example. You went through a period, at least, where you were just sick of singing Okie from Muskogee. You didn't want to sing anymore. Willie Nelson, I think, has somewhat the same feeling, at least, about Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. So my question is, how do you handle that?
Willie said to me not long ago, he said, if you get tired of Okie Muskogee, let me have it.
I'm not surprised it's made you a ton of
He was
money.
serious as a heart attack. In our business, we have icons within it. One of them people would be Ernest Tubb.
The old Texas troubadour.
Yeah, he was Willie's idol. He's my idol. He was the only guy in the 40s could outdraw Bob Wills. And Tommy Collins was a songwriter, singer that got some recognition in the mid-50s. And he was touring with Ernest Tubb one time, and his biggest hit song was a song called You Better Not Do That.
Yeah.
And he told Ernest, he said, I'm sick of that song. He said, I just can't hardly do it anymore. And Ernest said, that's bad, Tommy. He said, that's the reason they bought the ticket. They're not a curse, they're a blessing. Those songs are, Mama Tried. You know, I get emotional about it.
Because it was written as a tribute to your mother?
Yeah.
Your mother must have been heartbroken any number of times that you run away from school and not coming home.
I can't imagine what you went through. Now, I've got 6 children of my own. And it's not just a phrase. I really can't imagine what she went through. It must have been awful.
Well, you've written so many great songs, and that isn't just my opinion. It's not even consensus, it's unanimous opinion. In your heart of hearts, down where you live, what's your own favorite?
Well, I've never really answered that. If I had to choose one song, it'd probably be Mama Tried. I think it's more poignant than Okie from Muskogee. Okie from Muskogee is a hit for other reasons, which a lot of them I'm not sure of.
Well, it's pretty well known that you went through a period, a fairly long period, where I can't say your attitude was you wish you hadn't written it and sung it, and you weren't ashamed of it, but you thought it had been misinterpreted. Can we talk about that?
Well, it changed its complexion like a chameleon over the years. I think they like it for different reasons now than they did when they first heard it.
Well, a lot of people when they first heard it, let's face it, saw it was an answer to what they would consider the hippie culture of the 1960s.
Yeah.
Counterpunch, if you will, to that.
Right. And it's different now. And last night when I did it on the show, I tell them, this is a song that I wrote for my father, who hailed from the great state of Oklahoma. But I said I also wrote it for the people that smoke marijuana.
In your 70s, you've been married, what, 5 times?
I lost count. Dan. I think so.
Well, what have you learned from 5 marriages?
I learned one, it's very, very important to pick the right girl. This lady that I'm with now is gorgeous to begin with, but she actually likes me, I think. And, you know, that'll sustain a good marriage. Just a little bit of love.
You don't have to work anymore. You don't need to work anymore. Why do it? Why fight it? Why hop on the bus and drive couple of thousand miles to another date in a...
I'm scared of the loneliness. It'll get awful quiet, awful quick. If you want to be left alone, they'll leave you alone. People leave you alone. But you don't want that, and I don't want it either. I mean, we want to be what we have been all of our life, and we want to continue, and we don't want to ever die. And you know, that's the next big event once you retire.
You're scared of the loneliness.
Yeah.
Now, I thought Merle Haggard feared nothing on this earth.
Loneliness is a terrible thing, and you know, the older you get, the fewer people you know. I mean, you think about somebody 90 years old, they don't know anybody that's older than them. You know, and it's got to be a much better life if you're Merle Haggard with a big fan base, trying to play and try to keep your craft up to standards, and I think that keeps you alive.
I wouldn't argue that, but I want to come back because it's been playing in my mind. I said, why do you still do it? You said, we're scared of the loneliness. But you're now happily married. You have 6 children, is it? Grandchildren yet?
Oh, I've got great-grandchildren.
All right, you have 6 children, grandchildren. Explain to me how you could say you're scared of the loneliness.
Well, at the same time I speak of those great-grandchildren, I don't know them. And your family would be might be an acquaintance for a different reason, maybe the wrong reasons. Whereas your fans, they really want nothing but a performance. Somebody said money is not worth anything anymore. Well, they said, but it'll keep you in touch with your grandkids. You know, and it's my fear that they'll not be sincere with me when they tell me they love me.
Well, I'm going to end by asking you a music question. Would you agree or disagree that probably the song you get the most credit for being the deepest and the best song you ever wrote was Sing Me Back Home? And the line within it, the warden led a prisoner down the hallway to his doom.
And I stood up to say goodbye like all the rest. Sing Me Back Home is one of my best songs, there's no doubt about it. I think that even people that have never been to jail know somebody that's been to jail, and they have an imagination of what it might be like. Someone can arrest you for something you didn't do and you go to prison. If you weren't Dan Rather, you wouldn't get out. There's people in all over this nation doing time that didn't do anything. I think that would be a terrible thing.
The song resonates partly because people say, you know, Merle Haggard has been there. He's been in prison. And this is a song that comes from his experience, comes from deep within him, and the resonance is there. Can't take any more of your time again, my friend. I'm indebted to you for taking so much time.
Dan.